Dev, how are you feeling after the cast, mate?
Phenomenal. You know, casting that second game, probably one of the easiest casts I've ever had. Like, honestly, just it was such a breeze. It felt like it took no time at all.
Well, I can tell you what, you guys are absolute warriors, but Gladiators are in the server. Mandy, what are you thinking about this Gladiators roster? Because quite honestly, I feel like Stage 1 was a glimpse of what they might be able to do. However, Stage 2, they might start to hit final form Gladiators.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Gladiators have just made so much progress in the last two stages. Stage 1, they qualified well and truly fairly in. They proved to us coming 6th that they do deserve to be in this region. They do deserve to be in this competition. But Stage 2 is where it's really at, where the spotlight has really been on the Gladiators, and they've come to show that they know how to play some really great Siege. They have had some excellent strategies. They've got some hard hitters and probably the highest rated player of APE at the moment on their team as well. And it doesn't seem like they're going to stop anytime soon.
How are you feeling about Gladiators, Dev? Because their storyline has been, I don't want to say maybe misleading or confusing by any means, but are they going to be able to continue this form? We've got 4 play days left. If they are if they keep track right now, they could well and truly finish first.
Yeah, it's possible that they are currently sitting first. At least if you know, at the start of today's Playday, they were in first place. Gladiators are a team that clearly have a lot of potential, but they honestly have slipped under the radar a little bit for me. They have already had a pretty strong start. You know, they beat Fury and Chiefs, but arguably 2 of the weaker teams in the league at the moment. And they had a close loss to IG, but first place is still first place. And if you look at their game here against Elevate, there's a big opportunity. You know, they recently played Elevate in the Operation League and they won. They also previously played, when they were under Renatus, they played Elevate in APAC South, and they also beat Elevate then. So I think that they have an even bigger opportunity here than perhaps anyone would have seen in the past.
I feel like for Elevate, this is just a game that really will define their season, and maybe that's really early to call, but I just feel with how lackluster our top 3 teams have been, and of course by the top 3 teams, I'm referring to Chiefs, Direwolves, and Elevate, this could well and truly be quite a defining moment. Do you feel as though, do you agree with that sentiment, Dev, or do you kind of feel like maybe I've dove into it a bit too early?
I absolutely agree with you. I think that Elevate, well, yes, all 3 of those top teams that went to the major, or qualified for the major, I should say, in Elevate's case, in Stage 1, they have not quite hit their stride. I think Elevate is the most consistent of all those teams, and I think that Elevate over the last year has shown that they are, on average, the best team in the league, but they have also had some chinks in the armor. For example, they went to overtime against IG, which is an improvement on last stage because they won, but that's still dropping points there. And if they drop points here to GAIMIN Gladiators, they have to be really careful because Gladiators has already extended quite a strong lead, and they could lock Elevate out of one of those top spots, especially if Gladiators have the head-to-head.
What's your sentiment, Mandy? Do you concur with the doctors here, or do we feel like maybe we are just jumping the gun because we are only 3 days in?
I think I concur at the moment. I feel like very quickly these top spots are going to be locked out. I think especially as some of these teams start to run away with the season, like I think if some teams really find their stride, then it's going to become a little more top heavy as the season goes on. And I feel like the Gladiators are one of those teams that have the opportunity to do it, especially in this matchup today.
Well, I guess we can probably start talking about the map selection a little bit here, Dev. Do we have a feeling as to where we might be headed? Do you have an idea? I mean, it's so hard now. Back when it was, the traditional 7
there's like
maps.
So many
there's
variables
too many
I have to look at for all at once. I mean, I can go slow. I can break it down one at a time.
Please do. I know you're unwell, mate, so take your time here.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. So Gladiators have actually played only 2 maps so far. They played Theme Park twice and Skyscraper once. Elevate have also played Theme Park, so I personally would love to see a Theme Park between these 2 teams. Elevate already beat Knights there, which was pretty strong, particularly on their defense, if I recall correctly. And Gladiators, they did beat Chiefs, but also lost to IG there in a close overtime game. So, I would hope to see a map like that. That said, the fact that Gladiators have shown it twice means they may end up wanting to ban it.
All right, well, let's have a look at how the bans have unfolded. We've got the vetoes ready. You don't have to and anymore. It's Chalet followed by Theme Park. Gladiators are not having anything to do with it, which means that we are inevitably heading to KAFE. Woo! Can I get a hot yeah for Guz in the background there? Mandy, we head to KAFE. What are your thoughts?
Thoughts are, it doesn't seem like the Gladiators have played this map too much. They did play it while they were Renatus a little while ago, I suppose in their local league, but they haven't played it so far at APAC South, and at least not in this stage, as Dev seems to have, I suppose, previewed here before the veto came up. So I think unknown territory for Gladiators. Not sure about the side of Elevate, but I think that unknown territory does sort of work out as we go further into the stage. You don't want to be repeating maps because there are so many VODs of it out, right? And so now it's time to show the rest of your hand, and I think this is a good move from the Gladiators.
I guess that a hidden map could be a dangerous map by all means, but we have seen Elevate on KAFE quite often back in 2021, Dev. Are you kind of agreeing that this could be, you know, the ace in the pocket, ace up the sleeve for Gladiators?
Yeah, look, I do think that Gladiators have hidden this map. In fact, they banned both of the maps that they've played so far. I think Elevate was probably expecting to go to Skyscraper here, but Gladiators banned Theme and Sky, which are the two maps that they've played so far. So yeah, it's a surprise of them to go to KAFE, but I don't think Elevate will be too upset by it. They did recently lose to Direwolves on KAFE. That's, I guess, you know, the black mark on their record. But if you look a bit further back, you know, in the APAC playoffs at the end of Stage 1, they beat Cyclops, you know, they beat Chiefs. They also have had, you know, if you just keep going back further into history, they have quite a lot of good results on it. That said, you know, if there's any map where Gladiators can do it, it's a map that they have brought out that Elevate won't be expecting, and in theory, Elevate has slightly weaker form on. So I think that this is a good pick from Gladiators and a big chance for them.
So we are backing in the, well, what was the first place team heading into today. Obviously, that will well and truly change due to the fact that there are, I think Knights are only 1 point ahead of Gladiators at the moment, Elevate only 2 points behind Knights. So either of these teams, a regulation win sends them to the top of the standings. Whether they stay there for the rest of tonight, that'll be a different thing altogether. But I feel like, Mandy, are we all heading in the direction of Gladiators here? I know we all picked Elevate, so this could be dangerous.
I feel like this is a bit of a gamble from the Gladiators. Like, I think that showing the rest of their hand is a good move from them, but taking Elevate to KAFE just as Dev was going over, I think is a little bit of a risk, to be honest. Elevate are quite aggressive. They know how to utilize the architecture of KAFE to jump out the windows, to kind of throw the Gladiators off. And so I feel like while this could be an amazing opportunity for the Gladiators, it is a little bit of a risk. And so I don't want to lean one way or the other just yet.
I think I might actually, I might ask you, if you will lean, Dev, which way would you be going? I mean, we are on a fence here, and we've got almost the new Elevate from 2021 now coming into Stage 2. Gladiators are making some waves. Are the ripples going to be enough, though? Is it going to be enough to disturb the great Kraken that used to be Elevate?
I honestly think that Elevate have probably got it from here. I think Gladiators, there's been a lot of hype behind them because they were at the top of the standings at the start of today. But if you look at the teams that they've beaten, they beat Fury and they beat Chiefs. And they lost in a close game to IG. Now, IG are not at their top form. I wouldn't consider them a very top team in this league. And Fury and Chiefs are probably the lowest of the teams in this league. So I don't want to diminish their achievements, but I kind of do at the same time because I don't want to get too overhyped. I think Gladiators are going to get a bit of a reality check soon. They're going to play Elevate. They're going to start playing against teams like Wildcard and Knights, and I think and Direwolves as well. And they're going to have a real challenge going up against those teams. That said, if Gladiators do beat Elevate here, they are set, and I would totally back them into future games. That's why this is really a trial by fire game for them, and also a big test for Elevate, because if Elevate do falter here, I'd be pretty concerned for them.
Well, I mean, this win would send this win would send Gladiators to double digits in 4 games, which I think is quite incredible considering where they've come from and who this roster is. I mean, Stage 1, we kind of just said, yeah, there were some good performances, but we weren't too sure. Now we're potentially talking about them being one of the representing teams for APAC South at the Berlin Major. That kind of throws me off a little bit. Mandy, we do have a bit of time here, so we might open the conversation up a little bit further for Gladiators' implications. And I think that the question I posed to Xenox and Guz is probably the same question I'm going to pose to you here. Either team here are still well and truly viable for first and second place, but it feels like with the run home that Gladiators have, if they don't put on a convincing performance tonight, does our conversation change?
Ooh, I think our conversation does change because I think that if Elevate come away with this win tonight, I think that they will start to run away with it as the stage goes on. I feel like the run for Elevate, I think they'll collect that momentum and keep going forward. Right now, the standings are quite shaky as people are on less and less points, but as the points start to compound, the amount of change will decrease as well, right? And so I think that if Elevate are able to run away with it, that's really good. But the story for Gladiators, I think, is that if they come away with this win today, and especially for players like Ape, who I recently just learned that's how you're supposed to pronounce his name.
Really?
It's the Indonesian word for what. So we've been saying it wrong, Ape.
It's not Ape.
If we have players like Ape and all the like super players here on Gladiators really showing up against teams like Elevate, I think that just spells such a wonderful storyline for them to push through the rest of the stage as well.
It's probably go. You know what?
I was just going to say,
go,
just speaking of Ape, and especially it is blowing my mind that is happening. So, you know, at the start of the stage, you're like, okay, what players are we looking at? You know, who do we have to learn how to pronounce? And you see ape, and you're like, yeah, that's an English word. I know how to pronounce that. And then
Indonesian
you
word.
get well, ape is an English word, right? But ape is an Indonesian word. So that was our fault there, was, you know, assuming that it was an English word, not the Indonesian one. His rating is currently 1.39. He is also the 3rd best in the league for KD, and even the 5th best for cost as well. So a really consistent player. Also the 2nd best for clutches. In fact, now I'm having a look at it. The top 2 players in the league for clutches, the only players who have at least 3 clutches, are Ape and Joe, both from Gladiators. So this is a pretty stacked roster in terms of individual performances. Like I said, they've flown under the radar a little bit. You know, we haven't quite come to terms with just how strong they have been in Stage 2. And yeah, I think you're right, Mandy. If they can keep pulling out those big performances, you know, no team, even a team as stacked as Elevate, is going to find it easy against them.
Well, unfortunately, we are going to have to go to a very short break. We're still waiting for the players to jump into the lobby, so make sure you stick around. We'll be back after this.
It's a wild ride, ride. It's a wild ride. Ooh. It's a wild, wild, wild ride. It's up and it's down. It's a wild ride. But you don't have to do it alone. We get up, won't come down. It's a wild side. We are never going home. Oh, it's up and it's down. It's a wild ride. But you don't have to do it alone. We get up, won't come down. It's our wild side. We are never going. We are never going. It's up and it's down. It's a wild ride. You don't have to do it on alone. We get up, won't come down. It's our wild side. We are never going home. Never going. It's a wild ride. You don't have to do it on alone. We get up, won't come down. It's our wild side. We are never going home. I'm in love, so much love, and my body feels the emotion. I'm in love, so much love, it's a feeling of endless devotion. Get out on the floor, leave your worries at the door. Won't you come and dance with me? Get your boogie on, dance until the break of dawn. easy to decide. I'm the one you know it's true, yeah. So hold me now, don't be afraid. Touch my body, feel my sway. It's the day for you to say that you love me too. I'm in love, so much love, and my body feels the emotion. I'm in love, so much love, it's a feeling, the endless devotion. I'm in love, so much love. So much love, I'm in love, so much love, yeah. I'm in love, so much love, and my body feels the emotion. I'm in love, so much love, it's a feeling, the endless devotion.
Top of the table clash coming your way very shortly. Gaming Gladiators and Elevate. They were 1 and 2 coming into tonight, guys. Of course, no longer the case with the Knights and their result, but it's still 2 versus 3, and it's still a big match for both teams and their aspirations of going to the major.
Yeah, for sure. Elevate are looking to probably be the only team potentially now to return to a major this year, and Gaming Gladiators looking to continue their run of form and try to attend their very first. Big question marks as to how this one's going to line up, but KAFE is the map, one that's historically really strong for Elevate, so we'll see if they can replicate it here.
Elevate has never placed below the top 3 in the history of APAC South. They currently find themselves in 4th place coming into this game, and quite frankly, they've got a decent little run home as well. They play wildcard, then the Chiefs, who of course struggling, and then they finish off with Fury. I'm going to just say, guys, if they win this game and they get the 3 points, I would say Elevate's going to the major.
Yeah, I think it's fairly, it's not safe, but it's something you can definitely back with confidence, I think. No one would look at you with a raised eyebrow if you said that after this game. But obviously they need to get it across the line, and a very real chance that this one will be very close. The 2 attacking bands come through, and it's 2 very aggressive attacking, fragging operators. You have the Thinker, very prominent in the current meta, and Ying, who can bring some really deadly utility on a lot of these site executes. Valkyrie will be banished as well.
Oh, banished.
A lot of places you could hide those cameras on KAFE.
Sent to the Shadow Realm.
Certainly was by Gladiators, and now Elevate, they'll round things out. Probably expecting a Mirror here who's back in comp play, and that is the case.
Wow, we've definitely gone for some authentic, unique bans today, haven't we, guys? No, it's pretty much stock standard. It's really what you would expect, and especially considering this game means so much. This is not just your standard best of 1. We need to preface that now. Both teams, of course, vying for a spot at the major. A win is so instrumental in being able to make that a reality. And for Gaming Gladiators, already 7 points coming into this. I know that Dev sort of touched on them, and he's still a little bit unsure. I think we're all still a little bit unsure about the validity of the capabilities of this team. You look at their results. Yes, they beat the Chiefs like pretty much everyone has and will do. Close loss against IG, and then, of course, a win over Fury. So they haven't really played the best of the best until now against Elevate. This feels like the biggest test now for Gaming Gladiators to show everything that they've done over the first 3 weeks in this league and really put it into practice in this game, a big game with a lot on the line.
Yeah, and I think that asterisk is the perfect preface for this match, because I'm sure many people are looking at the top graphic and see Gladiators are in first place, but you just have to be so cautious with labeling them as the best team in the league right now. And it's probably the reason why I believe all of us did predict Elevate, if I'm not mistaken, heading into this game as well. So backing in the Thai Gunners to win this game out as they head below to Kitchen for the first round, and we enter a bit of a time machine here. The Echo back in play, playing that default coffee position, as well as VIP to deny that freezer entry as well. And we'll have to see how the Gladiators contend with that.
Yeah, and just lastly as well, 72% chance to make the major if the Gaming Gladiators win this. For Elevate, 61%. So that's what it means.
Jump out.
Regulation win.
And he's dead. And that's Elevate on KAFE in a nutshell. Right there. DCH preps the window, jumps out when he hears the rappel sound cue there from Joe on the park, and that's a really strong start, and just no trade whatsoever to speak of.
Well, that's probably what you need to do as well on KAFE. I think a lot of teams that sometimes when they do come to this map play into the defense too much, sit on site. Not a lot of that run out and that vault out and aggression to really put a bit of pressure onto the attacking teams. We've spoken to a couple of players who feel KAFE over time has seen attackers find a little bit more success as well, and it's not always just that fully defender-sided map, so you've got to invigorate, you've got to continue to find a way to put the pressure back onto the attacking team. Good stuff for Elevate, and honestly, they need to be the team that has the experience coming into this particular game that says, okay, we're not going to be messing around here. We're the big dogs, we've been here before, we've played these big games, we've gone to majors, gone to SI. Can they now deal with the up-and-coming team in the Gaming Gladiators?
And whilst that playstyle may be uncharted territory for a lot of teams, particularly some other regions, for example, for Elevate, it's not really. I'm still thinking back to like 12 months ago when Elevate were pretty strong on this map. They were doing the same thing, playing very aggressive, playing some unusual positions, going for jump outs, and just not allowing the attack to get decent footholds around the map or establish much control. So heading into this map, Gladiators should be anticipating that. Obviously, it's the first round, so mistakes are going to happen as players start to switch on. But going forward, the Gladiators have to punish that sort of play.
And just very quickly as well, really wanting to highlight some of the top players. Top 4 rated players in all of APAC South. 2 of them are in this game. Ape for Gaming Gladiators and Sapper for Elevate, who's had a tremendous stage so far. So, generally we think of Onigiri as the player for Elevate. In this instance, though, in this stage, it's been Sapper. That's the player to keep an eye on. For now, though, we're watching Onigiri inside a bakery. Ape just goes straight in, and he gets taken down. Onigiri probably expecting the front door push as well, and gets the headshot. Does eventually lose his life. Damage has been done. Told you towards red stairs. Able to get 2 quick kills, but yeah, as I said, damage well and truly done. Now 3 versus 1. Elevate should be taking this round.
Yeah, really disappointing there from the Gladiators. They established Vert. They didn't find much in the way of control and definitely didn't find any kills. Then forced in towards Small Bake and Bakery itself. These positions not cleared, and now it's up to Told You to try and clean up the scraps. Even the default camera is still standing, and utility. So Elevate will know exactly where he's coming from, and he is not going to be able to clutch out this round. The resistance from Elevate way too strong, and Gladiators just not really finding much at all in that round. A very disappointing start, but again, it is only the first round, so good opportunity for them to reset here.
And it all starts, though, with the actual start in that round as well, getting that opening kill and just really making it a little bit more difficult for the attacking team to throw bodies into Bakery, for example, a choke point that if you just don't have the numbers, it's not going to go your way. Onigiri, well positioned, getting that first kill onto Ape, that's already job done at that point. Once you get at least that kill, you're probably expecting someone for the main entrance of Bakery to just swing, get the trade. Didn't even happen. He gets the second kill, and from that point, the round's over. So a really good start for Elevate. They now head to Reading Fireplace, of course. KAFE, regardless of how maybe the players feel about it in the modern day, maybe attackers have been able to do a little bit better, still very defender-sided. It really does still play into the defense. I'm still probably expecting 4-2-half kind of territory for the defenders. But it's up to the Gaming Gladiators to see if they can sort of just find something out of nothing. Now, hopping onto the Nook, we've seen, obviously, that has become a bit of a staple throughout APAC South, but in recent weeks, we're seeing players jumping off of it, and Hoven actually jumping off of it for this round as well with the attacker repick.
I'm reloading. 10 seconds left.
Gridlock as well being exchanged out for the Nomad, so a different approach to flank watch here for the attack for Gladiators.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and
On this Reading bomb site, they'll likely want to take control from Red Hatch across the map from above. At least that would be the typical attack pattern, but considering the way in which Elevate are playing quite freely and loosely around the map, or at least they did in the first round, the kind of rigid approach can only get you so far, and Gladiators will be truly tested, I think, in this game. The ability to adapt, their ability to hunt down some of these roamers, and at the very least, trade out picks. If you allow Elevate on the roam to even just find 1 kill and waste a bit of time, but don't let it get traded, it's a bit of a disaster. So we'll see what they do this time. It is very much traditional, that top-down approach, and some aggressive intel gathering early here. Hoven wanting to get straight in on site, but Bricks?
Wait,
okay,
what?
got DCH. I got a little bit nervous there for Hoven, who did take a chunk of damage, but it is actually Gladiators to get out on top.
Yeah, a big kill. And I was actually about to say, I mean, regardless of sort of how you want to play this site, still top red stairs going to be the entry point, but we have seen teams push down the red stairs, go for a bit more of a horizontal pillars take with this site of choice now, rather than playing into the cocktail hold. But getting that early kill now for Gaming Gladiators means they're going to really speed up the process here and can go for that top-down approach, clear out cocktail rather early, maybe even towards, you know, a minute 15 seconds on the clock. That would be ideal. Really, once you get rid of Mark, that's kind of job done. You got the top end, and then you can use that vert and above and put some pressure on. But Mark not giving up this position, and I like actually the position he's holding here. Rather aggressive and making it difficult to push down that white corridor.
Does seem like Gladiators, though, want to confirm control up above, and I like you not to rotate down through Jane for a potential horizontal take, and that means they will need to contest with players like Mark, who have now fallen back a little bit. But I like the use here of the Maverick, and it actually gets hold of a perfect kill. Some great teamwork there from Gladiators. Mr. Punch does deliver a response, and Sapper, tucked away inside of Cocktail, could be on for a couple of kills. He pops up for one, doesn't take too much damage, but Onigiri can't support, and now he's left all alone.
Yeah, and Onigiri pushing top white stairs there. Not sure if that was needed. You already still had the player inside a Cocktail. You needed to probably just fall back, play sight. You've got at least a 3 versus 2, but then he dies, now makes it a 3 versus 1. Mr. Punch now the solo on site. So this realistically could have been actually a 3 versus 2 with 40 seconds left, still needing Gaming Gladiators to drop down, go for the default plan. I honestly think Mr. Punch and Onigiri could have actually won this round as the duo, but now as the solo, there's just too much to ask here for Mr. Punch. Getting flushed out with the flashes, he gets full white, and then he goes and he gets taken down as well. And a really, really solid response from Gaming Gladiators.
Yeah, that was really clean, really applying a lot of pressure on that Cocktail position. And I thought for a moment that was going to be so hard for them to clear, but the key operator that facilitated the push, it was the Maverick for sure. Opening that wall into Cocktail and exposing Mark, open up the round massively. There was a chance that maybe Mark would win the gunfight, a little bit 50-50, but guessing the exact position of the opposition on the other side was always going to be a challenge. So really well done there by Gladiators. I think we could probably ride off the first round as just a bit of a sleeper round, and it seems like they are now truly switched on.
And this is the site as well that I'm the most curious for. Bar Cocktail, attackers have been able to have some success here. So for Gaming Gladiators to take Reading Fireplace, a site that, you know, I think can generally be defended well. In fairness though, I think that was actually more Gaming Gladiators winning it on their own volition. Really good use of the Maverick, etc., getting that open kill, and just generally being really quick on their feet. Now, not just sort of dawdling around top red and Cigar and just waiting for like a minute, basically waiting for those inside a Cocktail to drop down. They forced the issue. And that's something that you can essentially kind of do again here on Bar Cocktail. But what we see so many teams do is just kind of sit in shop, kind of sit in lounge, not really doing anything, waiting for that time to dwindle down. Obviously, you go through the checklist, trying to get rid of a lot of utility, etc. But again, time is of the essence here. The quicker you can actually get through that checklist, the more time you have to find a couple of picks, open things up, open that site up. And generally, when we can see a couple of kills go the way of the attacking team, they just breeze through this site and they take it so easily.
Some creative usage there of the keeper barriers from Mark on the Azami, one of which was actually on the skylight to prevent some angles in towards shop, as Hoven aggressively droned up white here, taking a lot of control really early on in this round. I thought almost he'd commit all the way up the stairs and see if he could find a pick and open up the round, but instead he'll sit in Reading, and that's actually quite a strong position. As you can see up above, a lot of exposed wooden floors, and if he gets any information on site, he'll be able to lob nades and time them to explode the feet of those defenders up above. So certainly something to keep our eye on, and not only is he a grenade threat, but able to cut down any potential rotation if the defenders are forced offside.
Yeah, slow start for APAC, 0 and 2. Kind of put the spotlight on him and Sapper. Sapper 2 and 1. That's going to be again something to sort of just keep an eye on throughout this match. Two absolute top players throughout the stage of APAC South. But again, time is going to be the issue here for Gaming Gladiators. Now, I do like that they're not just keeping it towards trying to push into bar. A lot of sort of vert is being established here. Hoven down below gets rid of that shield inside a Cocktail, which is pretty nice, especially for the end of round. And it got the down onto Mr. Punch, converted by Rix. So again, opening kill for Gaming Gladiators. White stairs control would be massive as well to really pinch elevate on site up above. This is looking very good for Gaming Gladiators.
Yeah, the next big step, though, is getting someone in towards the site that can get that diffuser down and ensuring that they have the coverage for it to be stuck. That's a really good start, but this is still a tricky execute to pull off. That said, Hoven control over towards White. The Kiva barrier spells disaster for DCH, and Rick's going for the plant.
It goes both ways, and it helps out Hoven there on White stairs. Rick's going for that plant, like you said. Ping goes out, RP! He just gets 2 big kills while the plant goes down. Sapper, the star man for Elevate, shut down by Joe. GAIMIN Gladiators putting on a show right now here on KAFE offense. They're looking clean.
That is really well played by Gladiators, and I think a large part of that was getting Hoven in towards reading so early on in that round was incredibly impressive. And then on the flip side, Elevate elected not to contest. They also backed themselves in to hold White with the Kiva barrier, which was actually to their detriment and resulted in a kill against them. So the mistakes that Elevate are making are being forced, I think, by the hands of Gladiators at the moment. And those last 2 rounds are rounds from a team that are here to play. They want to really commit themselves as one of the best teams in this league. And so far, from what we're seeing on these attacks, they are playing incredibly well.
Yeah, I'm glad you say it like that as well, because sometimes you can win rounds by the other team making mistakes and the other team just sort of shooting themselves in the foot. This is just all GG, making big plays, being smart, calculated. It doesn't have to be the most flashy. Even just the Nook play itself, you know, and playing that successfully can do so much, especially on a site layer like Bar Cocktail, getting that vert. But where was the presence from Elevate below? There was nothing. Where was the presence on White Stairs? There was nothing, except for a Kiva barrier. You can't just rely on that. So you do have to question a little bit there for Elevate. Were they just not anticipating Gladiators to make any sort of play? If that's the case, you can't really be doing that. These guys have already shown their proficiency in being on the offense and making things happen. They're not going to be stalled out. They're going to get on the front foot. They're going to dictate the tempo of this game, and that's what they've done so far here on KAFE. But we head back to kitchen cooking for the second time. This was won successfully by Elevate. They will need to do so once again. And I like Mark over towards Pillar. Just change it up a little bit. Try and maybe catch them off guard, bit of an off-meta position.
Target located. First floor, had to blow it up.
Don't mind this from Elevate.
Drone activated.
Put one of your star players offside. Try and find some picks. Mark as well on Pillar contested. Drones being sent out to hunt down this player. So many interesting operators being brought out here on the attack for this hunt. And it's actually the Glaz. An unlikely operator on the entry to find the first with the rifle. Electing not to bring nades instead with smokes and a nade elsewhere, almost dealing with Onigiri. It is falling apart here for Elevate. They are completely falling apart. It is flawless for the Gladiators, 3 rounds straight. And at the moment, I can see nothing on the side of Elevate to convince me they're going to bring this back. This is absolutely a stomping right now.
Certainly so, and full credit to Gladiators. I don't necessarily mind that though from Elevate. You've got to do something. You've got to do something. They tried that there. They tried to be a little bit more aggressive off meta angles, tried to get a little bit more in the face of GG, try and cut them off from getting inside easily, bottom of White Stairs, for example. But ultimately, though, GG just hitting their shots. Gladiators are just on point right now. This is their map. This is their half. But, like I said before, Guz, a lot of players have started to sort of insinuate that KAFE is not as defender-sided as it used to be in the past, right? And so, therefore, you kind of question things a little bit. I think the Valkyrie ban really is quite massive to talk about, because Valkyrie has always been such a strong operator on KAFE, even after the nerfs, is still incredibly strong. So strong that it's obviously banned out. Mirror, I'm a little bit indifferent about. I don't think it changed too much, but the Valkyrie, so big against a team like GAIMIN Gladiators, hence why they've banned it out. It allows a team like Elevate to throw those cameras outside, get a bit more of a gist as to how they're going to set up offensively. And so therefore, I think we're seeing that come into fruition here. Big ban from GG, and it's playing that way here in the first half.
I can't think of the last time we have seen such a huge shift in momentum. In the first round where Elevate kicked things off with a jump out and just convert it from there to Gladiators. In the last 3 rounds, just absolutely making Elevate look second tier. I can't be any nicer than that. They have been playing incredibly well in these last few rounds. And Elevate now need to find something to hold on to. At least 2 rounds here in the defense would suffice, but finding that second dub is, as you said, than done. Popping again on Diana. Aggro info. name of the game so far here for Gladiators is to be getting players in the building as quickly as they possibly can once they know the coast is at least relatively safe. But Elevate dedicating over towards shop aggressively here to deny that, and Gladiators seemingly wanting to compete against it. Last time, they went for that push on the Eastern Rappel. They got a player inside of Reading. They played the site very differently to how they're shaping up to play it this time.
Device ready. Claymore
And Elevate's under pressure here. Don't get this twisted. It's, you know, the halfway point of the stage. Only 3 games to play after this. And while they do have 6 points, only 1 regulation loss. You lose this game, it's a long way back considering that GAIMIN Gladiators will go to 10 points. Knights are already on 8. Makes the chances of Elevate finishing top 2 so much more unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely.
Minute 20 now. Still a 5 versus 5. Hoven wants control and he gets it. Takes out a little of his health though. Good information in response here from Elevate. Onigiri on the Maestro. Those evil eye cameras tucked deep in towards that cocktail site. They will be pretty tricky to clear, but Ape does have an Ash charge. And it's going to be critical that he pulls it off if they want to deny that information. But they have plenty of information in response here, the Gladiators. Sending in that Gemini Deep, a drone as well, and Ape's all the way over towards Pixel now. He will want white control, and if he makes it all the way there to apply pressure onto Cocktail, Elevate could crumble, but DCH shuts it out.
Yeah, big elimination there on the up air, 40 seconds left. This is a really big point now for Elevate to just finish off the rest of this round, and they do so very rapidly. Flawless in the end. Much better from Elevate. Clean, flawless, and a much needed round win as well, considering the way this first half started to trend the way of the GAIMIN Gladiators. It's now 3-2. Elevate get a reprieve, and suddenly it's not all doom and gloom.
No, it's definitely not. And now we find ourselves in this weird crossroads, right, where Gladiators seemingly over the last few rounds have been looking almost unstoppable, and then Elevate do just completely stop them in their tracks with a flawless response. So, potentially bringing into question some of my thoughts and theories earlier, but it does set us up for an exciting round 6 here. The final round of the half, the Gladiators' final opportunity to confirm a lead, and Elevate's last opportunity on the defense to even out the half and recover from a couple of those rounds which didn't quite fall their way.
Such a fun game, though. Probably one of the more fun games of KAFE that I've seen in a long, long while. A map that can sometimes be slow, stagnant, probably the best way to define it, but GAIMIN Gladiators have really brought a lot to this and forcing Elevate to up their game as well. I mean, obviously last round in particular, probably a little bit more of that regular KAFE approach from Elevate on the defense, try to not give too much away and then punish on site, which was much better from them. That's one thing that has been notable. Elevate have been able to adjust almost every round here. They're trying different things, seeing what works, maybe what doesn't work for them one round may work for them the next round, or they'll change it up entirely. They're not going to be one-dimensional, and it's why, honestly, they're a team that has had so much success over the last, 24 months, basically, because they're not a team that is easy to just, put down as a one-trick team. They will change things up. They will change their roster up if needed to as well, and boy, have those been successful additions, but right now their work definitely cut out for them. Hoven having a tremendous game, 6-3, leading the way, Tolji as well, so it's not the regular, superstar names like up here as well, who's only 2-3. It's a full team effort here from GAIMIN Gladiators.
And honestly, I haven't even been keeping an eye on the kill column for Hoven. I've just been entirely enthralled with his ability to gain this map control and gain this information for the team, which they are acting on really quickly. And this is not a Gemini, folks. Hoven has just straight up dropped the hatch and is already looking to get some control over towards mining. And there's a ping. Hoven wants this kill and he almost gets what he wants. DCH will survive. Hoven probably should have gotten that one, but nonetheless survives with his life and pressure being applied into train.
Yeah, and now behind the train as well, so that wallbank's not going to find the mark anyway. Minute 40, prone on the ground on your right-hand side there on Gary. Now finds it. Hoven somehow still alive. Spotted through the wall that time and does not survive any longer. Onigiri makes sure of that, but DCH did get taken down eventually behind train. Minute 30 left in the round, so it's RP from above that finds that kill. Of course, had the information. Still, another player through Fireplace as well, and almost just got opened up there with the Skeleton Key by RP. So 4 versus 4 to close out the final round of the half. Minute 12 seconds remaining. Can GAIMIN Gladiators take a massive 4-2 lead, or can Elevate tie it up 3-3?
Very difficult to split hairs at the moment with 60 seconds now on the clock. Joe gets a ping onto an evil eye inside and uses a nade to dispatch that. Goyo is in place. That might stall out the push. Those flames survive for so long, and depending on where they're placed, 50 seconds might be really touch and go here for this execute. Elevate still with control above, of course, and Onigiri with the horizontal control as well. So I think the groundwork at the moment for Elevate's still quite solid, and it will just be a matter of ensuring that they mow these players down as they enter sight, and also facilitating the flank here from Mark and Sapper.
They've got like 8 flashes still available though for GAIMIN Gladiators. They can really overwhelm the site. Get rid of those final ADSs and then really look to take a look at this flank here. As you mentioned, Mark and Sapper, they spot the feet. The backside of Train doesn't find the kill though, it goes the other way. APAC gets the kill onto Onigiri, loses his life though to Mr. Punch, he swings out over the pillars as well. Long range shotgun almost did the job. Bricks is so close to being taken down. That Nitrocell should just about do it. Doesn't get through the window though. Mr. Punch anyway finds the kill onto Tolji with the SMG. Oh, 1 HP! It's Elevate, they take the round!
What a clutch there from Elevate.
Wow!
Gladiators, the time becoming an issue, forced to plan in an awkward position, and the coverage was frantic. You could see all these players darting around on site, and I think a big part of that was the flank. It kind of threw things into disarray. Mr. Punch gave a little bit of a lifeline by missing the nitro there, the window through the wall.
Look at this last shot.
But he made up for it. That is clean.
Massive result, and we are tied here on KAFE, 3-3 half. And a bounce back from Elevate, because admittedly, guys, at 3-1, you're sitting back saying that the train has left the station and it's all steam ahead for GG, but Elevate's such a classy outfit. You know that they were going to respond, and they did so in a rather abrupt manner as well, very quickly. Last 2 rounds there of the half to close out, when all the momentum was going the way of GAIMIN Gladiators. Elevate stand up and respond. Massive plant denial to close out the half, and we've got a big one here between these 2 teams, vying for a spot at the major. A win for either team will not necessarily be a lock-in, guys, but puts them in pole position.
10 seconds left.
It certainly does.
Reloading.
In terms of the live standings, the Knights on the back of their demolishing of the Chiefs technically are in first, but if either of these teams taken in regulation, they will jump back up ahead. Gladiators fighting for a total of 10 points, or Elevate on 9. And again, it's a game to call. Whenever it feels like one team is starting to get a read on the other, then it just flips on its head. So I'll have to wait and see if the second half plays out similarly. The roles now change. Elevate on the attack, and they will want to show some initiation here. Get the ball rolling. Ape inside of Lounge. Almost, I guess, doing his best Onigiri cosplay here. I have seen this position played multiple times by the members of Elevate, getting aggressive on these windows, and it works out perfectly. That's why they do it. It's one for Ape, wants the second, probably won't get it. Now's a good opportunity to fall back.
Yeah, and it's the sledge as well, eliminated. 1 for 1, that's fine. Credit to Onigiri. He's like, hey, that's my spot. Get out of there, mate. What are you doing? But you lose the sledge, which is not ideal. But regardless, still job done from Ape, who, started a little slow in the first 2 rounds, but has really started to make his mark. Well and truly. I'm a little surprised, though, if you've got the Azami there, I do wonder if you should be playing the Azami in that position with the Keeper barriers instead, and then playing Ape, well, not necessarily Ape, but playing the Wamai, maybe over towards Pixel, throwing the discs into that position to make that even more difficult to shut down. Minute 35 remaining on the clock, though. We move forward. That's exactly what Elevate's going to need to do, and a little slow. Now, remembering, we've just switched halves, so we're finally going to get to see how Elevate need to sort of progress their way as the attacking team on KAFE. GAIMIN Gladiators, they were quick, they were sharp to the point, they didn't mess around. They went for that vert play a couple of times on Bar Cocktail and found success, but so far it just all looks a little bit too one-dimensional from Elevate here on this attack. It's all just a bit of a bar push, get control of shop, Lounge, you got the ping on the player over towards that pillar position of Hoven, and he should find, never mind, it goes back the other way. Big kill from DCH. Sight well and truly available and opened up now.
Absolutely slapped him. What a shot there with the F2. Now a 4 versus 3 and elevated position. Try and go for the default. Plant, trade out picks. Get it stuck. Told you though, poses a threat. This frees the position so powerful.
But it was being watched, was it not? DCH was watching that position. He created the hole in the wall sideline to watch Tolji, who obviously did take some damage as soon as he peeked out of Freezer. Throws the Nitrocell, it's DCH who finds the kill onto Joe. Advantage Elevate once again, but time becoming a factor. I don't necessarily need a whole lot of it. Mark was already down though, so that was just Tolji finishing him off. So technically, another 1-for-1. Now it's a 1 versus 2. Rick's the last one alive. Sapper, a little bit quiet in this match. The standout player for Elevate in this stage gets a standout kill in this round. Elevate take the lead here on KAFE.
Yeah, far from clean there. Elevate really scrapping in the final stages of that round to get it across the line, but they had the advantage of an extra player on the board. That is ultimately what won them the round, got him in the position, a 2v1, ideal when going for the plant and able to close it out before that was even required. So a decent job in the end. Again, could have been a lot cleaner. Freezer posing issues and Tolji did a good job to keep his team in it, but it wasn't enough. And now, Fireplace Mining. My eyes, I hope, are not deceiving me there. Mining is a site that gets very, very little play in general, regardless really of the region. It does get dabbled with here and there, but for most teams, a well and truly tertiary site. So we'll see what Elevate have to counter it and how Gladiators like to set up the site.
Some close rounds now, isn't it, as well? You know, you go back to sort of round 4, it's a flawless round win for GAIMIN GLADIATORS. They took a 3-1 lead, and since then, Elevate have been able to sort of fight back. They planted an in the final round of the first half, and the 2v1 close out to open up the opening round of the second half, and now they take the lead. Suddenly, it feels like in the blink of an eye, they've won 3 rounds in a row. It was a 3-1 start for GAIMIN GLADIATORS on the attack of KAFE. And since then, Elevated won the last 3 rounds. What a response. And this is what you expect. Stage on the line, a major spot on the line. Again, it's not as if it's like you can't win or you can't get to that position if you lose this game, but it's a long, long way back, and it's no longer in your hands. Destiny, that is. But you win this game, and suddenly that destiny is in your hands. That major spot is all up to you and how you play from here. And Elevate have responded like a team that wants destiny well and truly in their grasp. GAIMIN GLADIATORS, now it's up to them to fight back.
Really good start. It does equalize out a little bit of 4 versus 4 now. Just over 2 minutes remaining on the clock, and a lot can happen between now and the conclusion here of the 8th round. Can be such an incredibly difficult site if you aren't well prepared for it. Elevate though, with a fantastic array of operators still available to get this one across the line. Losing Mr. Punch will hurt. That does compromise any vertical play from up above, and the grenades, the only grenades that would have been available for the team, now do go missing. But the sign of a good team, especially on attack, is one that can adapt. No round is going to be perfect, or very few are going to go perfectly the way you envision. So it's now up to Elevate to work out what are their win conditions for this round and how are they going to achieve that.
Arrow goes out from DCH, looking to take out that camera. It's Hoven again, and Hoven can't get away from DCH. Shot in the back. The 1-for-1 trade, but you lose on Agiri. Suddenly again, that time dwindling down. And this is something, though, that regardless of the last couple of rounds, GAIMIN GLADIATORS have done a tremendous job at just finding kills. Speaking of finding kills, though, DCH, headshot elimination onto Uphead, and suddenly the round is falling away from GAIMIN GLADIATORS, and I sense maybe the map is also falling away from them. Tolji, the 1 versus 3, just stands in the hallway, meets his demise. Elevate on a roll here on KAFE.
And the tactical timeout called in response. Gladiators really wanting now to halt this momentum. The momentum that they had in their hands, it felt like not too long ago, has been absolutely ripped out. And this tactical timeout, if we want to commit ourselves to this storyline, could pretty much make or break their chances of making the major. Now, if they lose this game, it's not going to spell complete catastrophe, but it certainly does not bolster their chances. So it is critical that in the next minute, they refocus, they formulate a quick plan to try and shut down Elevate, try and stall them out a little bit more, because it feels like they're just starting to run away with it a little bit.
Feels like it definitely have been running away with it. 4 rounds in a row to the good now for Elevate, and doing it rather convincingly. And suddenly that sort of spark, that fire that Gaming Gladiators had in the first half and really shot out of the gate has all but evaporated. They need to refine that spark and refine that fire, maybe at the conclusion of this tactical timeout. That is something that they can achieve. It's 3-5. Elevate 1 round away from securing at least 1 point at minimum. We'd put them to 7 points as the current standings would be, but they want all 3. That's the other thing to sort of remember as well, is these overtimes, they have been pretty much adding up as the stage goes on, and that's points being left on the table. You want to confirm all 3 points. So that means for Gaming Gladiators, guys, they need to win 4 rounds in a row if they want all 3 points from this game.
That's a tall order, a tall ask. It's going to be tricky, but by no means impossible. Over towards Bakery we go, an aggressive lineup here in response from the Gladiators. The Warden in play from Tolji. We're deep in sight once he falls off the roam. And Hoven as well. Oryx getting an increasing amount of playtime in competitive. KAFE is a map that facilitates his playstyle. A lot of hatches available as well for swift rotations, and that's something Elevate will need to be mindful of, particularly on Agiri, who is playing that flank watch operator in Nomad.
Yeah, and Hoven's done a good job as well in sort of playing to that approach already, even off of the Oryx finding. Oh, wow. That's so unfortunate. If you're Ape, that's just one of those moments where you throw your hands in the air and wonder what could you really do. A tight angle shot from Onigiri, headshot, and then you're dead. And suddenly Elevate, it's just almost like the damn wall has well and truly burst, and they are making life very difficult now for Gladiators. Everything going their way, nothing stopping them, and now pushing into Bakery.
Oh, that's not ideal, but DCH survives nonetheless, just sneaking forward in towards Bakery. Left unattended now by the Gladiators. A 4 versus 5, and this map really on the line. If DCH gets this next pick, it will well and truly threaten sight. Sapper threatening over towards front door as a ping goes out. DCH wants to make a play. Has information, but doesn't quite land the shot. Needs some pressure from Prep. Onigiri looking to facilitate that. DCH elsewhere gets a pick, and it's so hard to see the Gladiators bringing this round back, but Tolji on red will drop the diffuser.
Yeah, Tolji's had a couple of big moments playing as sort of the anchor, finding a couple of kills late round when it feels like it's falling away from the Gladiators, and once again stands up, finds a kill, but they need something now from Hoven and Joe as well, and they lose Tolji to Onigiri. He's just starting to get on a roll as well himself. If the team is firing on all cylinders, Onigiri feels like that last player to get going with them, and he has been able to do so in the last couple of rounds. It's now a 3 versus 1. Hoven over towards Red Stairs, and time not really a friend either. A lot of time for Mark, Mr. Punch, and Sapper to get on site, get this plant down to flush out Hoven. Has a nice little sight line at least onto site. Would need to basically create 3 1v1 situations. I don't think it's going to happen though. And I think Elevate are about to go on to match point.
Hoven's still not having an impact yet. That diffuser now down. His chances have now dramatically reduced in being able to clutch out this round. I believe it was Mr. Punch playing hallway monitor here on red. As Hoven, you can see, look how many angles he has to check. It is ridiculous. He still does find Mark though. Could be something, but needs to find 2 more. Swings one and gets a second. This would be unbelievable. Sapper now in the 1 versus 1 with 20 seconds on the clock, so Hoven has about 10 seconds to get in and get the kill, but he's looking the complete wrong way. He's making the sound cue. Sapper will hear. Hoven still doesn't know that he's inside of Freezer, and the timer will go down. He needs to stick from this point onwards, and Sapper swings at the perfect moment to get Elevate the round.
I think what's happened there is the kill onto Mark, he feels like was the player holding the Freezer side. And so he's probably sensing that they've all split up, holding different angles. One sort of Bakery, one watching the red hallway, and then one sort of over to Freezer. But it was actually a stack onto that freezer position. So you get that kill onto Mark, but Sapper's still inside of freezer. And he doesn't understand that. He probably just thinks that the third player is going to be somewhere else on site. Really well played from Sapper to not peek, to understand he's in the best position. He has to push all the way over to freezer. He has to swing and hope that he knows I'm in there. Really well played from Elevate, of course, to not take anything away. A tremendous job, and they get to match point. 6 rounds now for Elevate, 5 of which that have come in a row. They were down 3-1, guys. 3-1. And now it's 3-6. What a turnaround from Elevate.
And the wild thing is, it wasn't your everyday 3-1. Gladiators absolutely wiped the floor 3 rounds in a row against Elevate, which is an impressive effort. For Elevate to then turn that completely around, wow. That's a really strong sign for them, and a sign of strength at the moment. Really impressive. Elevate wants to attend another major, get more international experience under the belt, get more SA points towards a top 16 finish on the global standings as well. So this has been a good performance from them, and they've gotten at least 1 point. Now though, they need to keep pushing for all 3, because we know that at the bitter end, overtime wins could be costly for some teams, and Elevate don't want to find themselves in that boat.
Have they got what it takes now to force a comeback? Seen so many teams before them achieve it even after a team like Elevate's won, 4 or 5 rounds in a row. And Gladiators had a great little stage so far. And we're top of the standings coming into tonight. But it feels like the up-and-coming team is being met heavily by the long-standing champions. Alvin gets away with his life intact, and honestly could have been a whole lot worse. Could have easily died there. 5 versus 5, and don't mind that. You're still trying to find an avenue to success. Still trying to find a way to get an advantage early. Make life difficult for Elevate, but it just isn't working these last few rounds. Everything they're trying, Elevate have got a counterpunch ready and waiting.
They've just been careful here on the repels. Rightly so. At this point of the match, where I think Gladiators maybe start to get a little bit more desperate. Find an opening. Find that opening kill. Anything. With Hoven on low HP on this roam, it does compromise a bit of that pressure. He probably won't feel as confident going for plays, but he can just lurk below. No rush on him at the moment. Elsewhere, Mr. Punch. Now inside of reception on the Nook. His play now probably to sneak up either brown stairs or white stairs, and up bait is very close by. So Mr. Punch might be on for a kill here.
Is he going to be expecting Ape to be in this position? Throws out that Nitro Cell, and yes! Ape had no idea. Mr. Punch pushes up at the right time. Finds that opening kill. And Elevate are now mere moments away from all 3 points being secured here on KAFE. It does a tremendous amount for their chances of going to the major. Hoven over towards white stairs, needs to make a power play. And someone on the Gladiators needs to make something happen if they're going to change the result here on KAFE.
30 seconds, Elevate prepping for the execute with the advantage once more. Just like last time, DCH goes for the default plant, but the Talon Shield doesn't provide enough coverage. Told you able to find that one with 20 seconds. Sapper will reattempt.
Rix finds a big kill onto Onigiri. Sapper can't stay alive, neither can Mr. Punch, and there is still a flicker of hope for the Gladiators. They stay alive momentarily here on KAFE, warding off Elevate just a little bit longer.
Doing a good job there. Not in the favored position with the Talon Shield down. The man advantage to the attack. Put that into the calculator, and normally that would result in an Elevate victory. And us closing out the map, but not the case. Told you's had a couple of really big moments in this match so far. And in the context of this game, in the context of this stage, that was a big moment for him to step up once more and just keeps them alive for a little bit longer. Rotating over towards reading and dining now for the 11th round. And once more, he hold with bated breath. Let's see whether or not Elevate can close it out this time.
So 2 more rounds required now for the Gladiators, who, I mean, whenever you're down 3-6, guys, you're not really fussed about the 3 points anymore. You want the 2 points. You want the 1 point. It can do so much for your stage, and also not just you collecting the points, but taking points away from Elevate. That's the next step in it, right? Even if this goes to an OT win for Elevate, so even if Gladiators bring it back to overtime and they still ultimately fall, it actually puts them on the same amount of points moving forward. They'd both be on 8 points after this Playday. So that's those little moments, those little points that add up over the course of a stage. So much to fight for in these next 2 rounds, and they are certainly capable. I think they're the kind of team that just needs that spark, needs that little momentum to flicker and to then build off of that. You've got 1 round. Okay, now make it 2, then suddenly you've only got to get 1 more, and then it's all reset over towards overtime. Elevate will know that, and I actually would sense if Elevate lose this round, I would imagine a tactical timeout will be taken. This is a big, big round and a close match here.
Hatch is open now by the sledge. Often a queue that will start getting pressure in towards Shop, and Ape looking to hold that down with the shotgun in hand. A drone though to scout him out, forcing him, and it looks like maybe the rest of the team off Cocktail. Always told you falls down. Aggression though from Hoven on this pixel position, the angle through washrooms, and being supported by Rix from down below on the pulse. He too will also elect to rotate. A very strange standoff at the moment because there's map control to be taken by Elevate, but they're being very cautious on this entry.
Minute 30 seconds remaining, and again, the game has slowed down. It feels like everything actually on this map has arguably slowed down as the game has gone on. The first couple of rounds was fast and frenetic, set by the attack of GAIMIN Gladiators, but as we've gone into the second half, it's well been played on the terms of Elevate. It's been their game. How can the Gladiators respond? Nade from Mr. Punch. I arguably thought that was going to do a hell of a lot more. Untitled gets away without losing much health. Suddenly, only 55 seconds remaining. Hoven still over towards Train.
Falls back though, now in sight, 50 seconds available for Elevate to get themselves in towards the objective. Still a 5 versus 5. And again, just so slow, they're pacing. Everyone always stationary at the moment. Gaining ground, very tricky. Hoven almost thought was going to go for jump out, but still contending White Stairs. And there's only 30 seconds left for Elevate to now execute.
They still haven't got control of Cocktail. They haven't got control of White Stairs. Hoven, though, eventually does fall down on Akiri. He's into Train. He can actually see into sight now. 20 seconds left, and suddenly the kill's going the way of Elevate. Joe, big kill, up above. Told you, still inside a laundry. Needs to find something here. Joe got a second one, but it doesn't matter. Elevate still win the round. And they take the map as well. And they take all 3 points. And their trip to Berlin is looking a little bit better now with that as well. 9 points, top spot for the top team in APAC South.
Back in number 1, and I'm sure that's what Elevate will say. That's the position in which they do belong. 7-4, a decisive victory. They did a good job, especially in the first half where things did not look